Hey everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to this video on how you can prospect through Sales Nav, as I'm assuming most of you will have this platform and it can be used to great effect. Funny enough, when I first started as an SDR, we had it, but I didn't really use it too much. And then I sort of learned the processes behind it, and then it turned into a great platform to consistently book meetings. So yeah, as I've said before, this is the most important video in the course because it's where you are now. So don't rush through, don't jump around, and take your time going through. So what is Sales Nav? So Sales Nav is something, as I said, most of you are going to have, but it's effectively just an add-on to LinkedIn, right? Where through LinkedIn, you can get access to it, and it's just a way to prospect and to find people and companies. So the most important thing, what we want to remember, is we have to make it specific. Everything we went through in the ICP and persona section is what we want to be using to narrow down our search through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I'm going to do a full walkthrough and demo of the platform as well, and how to set up the things we're talking about, and also how to start building your lists based off the triggers that we've spoken about. So the first thing is a persona. So let me just hop onto Sales Nav so you can see. So when you log in, you'll see something like this on your homepage, and at the top you have saved searches and personas. So if you're manually searching and you didn't have a persona, every single time you'd have to put in the job title, the geography, and all these bits of information. Let me just move this so you can see. So it becomes a bit of a headache where you have to go back and forth, and it just wastes a lot of time. So what you can do with a persona is you just click Create New Persona. And let's say we'll run with the example I've been using quite a bit where I'm talking about myself for coaching, right? So I could say sales persona / ICP. Now, within this, we'd put in the function. So obviously, just sales. Seniority level, you can add this, but it's not super important because, to be honest, the job titles is where you'll sort of do this anyway. So you don't have to fill this in, and you can just add in the specific job title. So let's say VP of Sales, VP. This one as well look good, global sales. And let's just say we're going after vice president. So we're not going after like managers or anything like that. We're just going after these. And let's even say CRO, like the chief revenue officer. So these are like the top of our priorities. You don't want to add too many job titles in, right? So within this mixture, I wouldn't want to add like an SDR team lead with a VP of sales, because what an SDR team lead cares about or manager cares about is very different to the VP of the entire sales organization. So this is what we're talking about. Be specific. Use the persona, what you found earlier. Once you're happy with it, obviously geography as well, apologies. So if you're only prospecting into certain regions, use this here. So for myself, let's just say EMEA, and that's the region what I want to do. So just click save. In fact, we're going to change this to US because the US has like a much bigger market. So it may make the examples a bit easier. Let's just save. Perfect. Then what it'll do is, you can see it here, right? We've got two because I've just changed it with the US and EMEA. So let's just say we want to delete this one and just focus on the US guys and girls. Cool. There we go. So now, instead of manually putting it in every time, we just scroll down to personas. This is on the leads as well. It's split between leads and accounts. So leads is just people, then accounts is obviously companies. So the persona applies to leads because this is like the people section, and account is about the company. So we just click on persona, and there we have the one we just created. Then it will automatically fill in the info, and it just makes our life a bit easier. Now, the next thing is saved searches. So again, similar to before, we want to make it as systematic as possible so we know if new people are coming into our saved searches. So let's go into one intent signal we can use. So job changes as an intent signal. As we spoke about before, it can be amazing because if someone's just changed jobs, then they're probably going to be willing to hear about new things, or they may have used similar processes in a previous role, what they want to implement here. So what we do, we just scroll down, we go to job changes, and there we go. So now we have 2,000 people, and this is where we can start to narrow it down a little bit more. So you can add extra things in, like potentially past customer, following your company, so we can double up. But let's say this 2,000 is fine, and we just start going through this list, and I'm very happy with it. This is like perfect, my exact thing. All we do is just click this. And now if we go into save searches, you'll see it here. So I have a few in here because obviously I work with mainly SDRs. So I like to track people who are becoming new SDRs and BDRs, or even SDRs who've viewed my profile so I can reach out to them. And what you'll see is this: when it finds new people, it'll just add it in green text. So 13 people since the 13th of the 7th. So every week you can just review this and you'll have new people to start putting into lists and to start building with, which is amazing. So if I was going into this, for example, all of these people I know would be perfect. So let's just say this person, I want to send a blank connection because they're a new BDR, just joined a company. They haven't been a BDR or SDR before, so they probably may need some help when it comes to frameworks. So I'll, tell them about the free community. So we just send the connections and we're happy with it. So that's how we sort of use the save searches to keep on track of it and to keep managing it. But this is like a little extra thing I want to go into. So let me just go back to this save search, because what we want to do from here, once we're happy with the list and we find some prospects, we save them. And this is where we can start utilizing lists. So let's just use this whole page, the 25 people on this page. We click save to list, create a new list. And from here, we can call this list sales persona changed roles. Cool. Can add a little description as well. So this is a list of US VP of sales and CROs who have recently moved to a new company. And then this is where it comes into the sequencing, right? So now we have the trigger. We know that all these people, we're going to reach out to them with the trigger that they've changed jobs. So we can put this down. Reach out with the changed roles. Changed roles. Trigger sequence. So now I know what I'm going to reach out to these persons with to show why it's relevant. Let me just click create and save. Now you'll have a section here called leads. So you just click in this and there we go. This is where you can also keep track of the people. So again, let's say the same example. We want to send these people connection requests. So we just go on it, click connect. And what you'll see at the top is this little section, right? Where you'll have ones who have a potential team intro link. So this is great. If someone you already know is a first degree connection of one of your prospects, you can just ask them for a warm intro, because a warm intro is always going to be better than you reaching out to them completely cold. But this section is something I love. And this is if they've been posting on LinkedIn. Now, if someone's just moved jobs, it's typically going to be the I've just joined a new company type of post, but that's perfect. You can like these posts, leave a comment on it, become a familiar face. And that's something we'll get into a bit later when we go into LinkedIn outreach itself. And that's why it's the section after this, where we talk about the process to go from connection to becoming familiar to the initial message to booking a meeting. So don't worry about this too much for now, but make sure to track people in lists just so you know, okay, who's connected with me, who's accepted, and what people do I need to reach out to with what. So that's just one example for the job changes. So let's do another one. So we just go back to this. Now we want to go to tracking our champions, right? So this is people where you've had success with them before. And it's such an important thing to do because there are tools what can do this for you, like user gems, etc. But if you can track it all yourself, it's always going to be even better, right? So let's say with the same list, this is actually previous champions. Excuse me. So this is people who I've sold to before. Then when I see this, that somebody's changed jobs, this relates to the intent signal, what we spoke about before, where previous customers move jobs. So now when I'm reaching out to this person, hey, saw you recently joined X company, and I know we worked together when you were back at Y to help solve X. Curious how you're planning to manage that over a new company name, right? That's how we can start the message with a warmer intro. So same thing again, you just have your list. So let's say if you, sometimes it ties to your CRM, so like people in CRM, you'd be able to track. Obviously for myself, I don't really use a CRM, so I can't show this one. But the point is just add them all to a list. Every time you book a meeting, every time you close a deal, track them to a list and then just have it as champions. Like this one, for example, champions list, just so you know, and you can reach back out to these people with a clear intent signal. So that's exactly how you do it. Every few weeks, just come in and check if anyone's moved roles or if someone's posted, anything's changed in the business. Now, when we're talking about customer alumni, so this is people who used to work for a previous company. So for example, they either used to use your product directly in a role and now they've gone to a different one, or didn't actually use it, but they understand the benefit, what you help to provide at that company, if that makes sense. So let's go back over to our lead lists. We just apply the persona that we made earlier. And then where it says past company, we just use it here. So let's say Gong, like I used in the other example. So let's say I sell a CRM and I used to work with people Gong used to use our solution at their company, right? So now when I'm reaching out to these VP of sales, especially if it's recent, and he, was at Gong for his last company, as I can see, 3 years, 3 months here. If I reach out to Bob, then I can use as my trigger. Hey, saw you were previously back at Gong. Curious if you're familiar with blah, and then you can use that as an intent signal. So again, this one you won't find as much. It's going to be quite specific, which is a good thing, because if there's not as many people, then it shows it's hyper targeted and it is really specific to them. So when there's a few people, you can spend more time finding the information and crafting a personalized message. Because when there's only 7 compared to the 2,000 of before, it's going to be a lot easier for me to quickly look on someone's LinkedIn, find a piece of information, and leverage that in my outreach. So this is a good play. But for me, like the one I used to use the most is following your company, right? So let's just get rid of this. I'm not sure if this is an intent signal here. Yeah, company followers. Again, I'll show you these other ones in a second, but company followers, in my opinion, is one of the best, because this is someone who's actively showing intent to you. So for me, obviously, this is still on the Revolut CRM because I'm still on their Sales Nav. But again, if this VP of sales or whatever your persona is following your company, they're aware of you and what you do to help solve specific issues, right? So if they're already aware of you, it's going to be a lot easier to reach back out with a warmer style of message compared to someone who's completely cold, because they know you, they're potentially even interacting with your content and doing things like that. And that's where it links into this one. Recently viewed your profile. So again, if my ICP, like this person, is viewing my profile, this is perfect. So let's just save this guy to a list. Let's send him a connection because he's a VP of sales. Perfect. He's just joined. And so I could reach out asking him, hey, John, hey, Trent. So you were recently on my profile. Congrats on the new role. I could double up with a trigger, right? And because he's viewing my profile, he's aware of what I do, where I talk about sales training. I can ask him the question, curious how you're planning to ramp the new reps at the new company, Odd Surveyor or whatever it's called, and then reach out from there. So again, I'd just send the connection, then save him to a list, create a new list, and just call it viewed profile. And then just go from there with the same process. So again, it's quite repeatable. The lead stuff is quite simple to do. So I just want to show you a quick play in terms of accounts, because this is the other side and something similar to leads, except we're focusing on companies, not people as much. So when we're on this, you'll see here account at the top. It's very similar in terms of the structure to the lead side, but it's a little bit different in how we'd use it. So there are a few good intent signals on here, right? So let's say buyer intent. Obviously, if someone's showing some sort of intent, what LinkedIn's figured out, then that's perfect. But this one is a super simple one to use. Department headcount growth. So let's say for myself, I'm focusing on the sales teams and I've seen it grow 20% to 100%. Add. And then we can put in our information manually. So I want to do US. I want to sell. I help software companies, and with a headcount of 51 to 200 reps. Perfect. So all these companies fit the criteria in terms of growth. So when we look at it, you'll be able to see if we scroll down. So this one's actually a bit different. So maybe it's just their specific sales teams what's growing, because overall growth is not there. But yeah, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is if a company's growing, then there's going to be pains they're going through, so you can leverage this. For me personally, I mainly use lead filters because, again, when we're reaching out to someone, like even if I was reaching out to this company, I'm still going to be reaching out to a person within the company. So if you can find a piece of information that relates to the person, it's always going to be a bit stronger than reaching out to a person based off something about the company, right? If you can make it specific to them, it just makes it that tad more relevant. So yeah, that's just a quick work through of how you can start using LinkedIn Sales Nav. Again, it's an amazing tool. One thing I would say, don't send in mails, just send blank connections. But again, we're going to get into that in the next step of the course, but hopefully that was useful. If you have any questions with Sales Nav, just feel free to obviously drop a comment on this video or just drop me a DM.